Hello. As usual, it's been a little while since my last video, so I thank you for your patience. Today we're going to be taking a look at a really interesting book in my opinion. It's a book that I got a while back and I've been planning on doing a video for the last few months, and just, as usual, took me a little while to get around to it. That book is The Souls of Black Folk by W.E.B. Du Bois, published in 1953 by the Blue Heron Press. This is a limited numbered edition of the book, commemorating the 50th anniversary of the book. The book was originally published in 1903. It is really one of the landmarks of American literature in the last probably 2 centuries. If you haven't read the book, I highly recommend it. It is a very powerful book. Pretty much since the first time I read the book a few years ago, I wanted to get a copy of it. First editions, signed books, they are incredibly expensive. Budget in the $5,000 to $6,000 range or more if you're interested in getting one. So I've been looking for copies of the book pretty much since I read it, and I happened to stumble across this particular copy of the book. I didn't know it existed until I started digging in trying to find some copies. Really anything signed by Du Bois, because he doesn't really sign a lot of stuff in my experience. So I stumbled across this. I don't know a lot about Blue Heron Press. If you do, comment below. I'd love to hear some more about it. All the research I can find online, there's pretty much next to nothing. So take everything that I'm about to say with a grain of salt, knowing that I'm just going to be explaining what I think and some elements that I have seen just from looking at other copies of the book. So bear all that in mind. And again, I would love to hear if you happen to know a little bit more about it. So again, this is a limited numbered edition of the book. These books, and what makes them collectible, is the fact that they are signed by a bookplate, via a bookplate by Du Bois. So Du Bois, again, doesn't really sign a whole lot. So if you're looking to get a signed copy of his books, this is sort of the target that you'd want to look for. Book plates are in general not as valuable or interesting or collectible as a inscribed or flat signed copy, but again, he didn't sign a whole lot, and if you're not planning on spending $6,000 or $7,000 for a book, this is probably the way to go if you're trying to get a signed copy. Now the book itself, there's really no other way to describe this. This is a really poorly produced book. Sorry, Blue Heron Press. This is a really terrible printing of the book. So why I say that is there's a top stain on here. This generally fades. You can see my copy is even starting to turn gray a little bit there. The cloth stains very easily. It fades. The design itself is very poor. It doesn't look all that great. The hinges get loose incredibly quickly. The spine, every copy I've seen, besides this one, has a almost golden spine because it's completely faded. The top and bottoms of the spine chip incredibly easy. Luckily, this particular copy, that is not the case. This book is notoriously ill-made, in my opinion. Every copy that I had seen of this book before I found this copy was in horrible condition. It's just a poorly made book. In terms of the number of copies that are available, it's a numbered book, but the publisher forgot to number the copies of the book. So we don't even actually know how many copies exist. I know it was a small publisher because there's no information about them. Looking at the book, I can't imagine this was a book that they mass produced. My estimations would probably be in the 500 to 1,000 copies range. And based on the number of copies that are available from booksellers, I think that number is probably fairly accurate based on other books that I know that exist and the number of copies that are available for them. So again, that's purely speculation, but that would be my guess. And again, the handful of copies that are available are generally in really poor condition. What made this particular copy extra interesting? This is a copy I got internationally. I had it purchased from Canada. I had never seen a copy of the book that included a glassine. Now, if you're not familiar, the glassine is this sort of delicate wrapper that wraps around the book. Now, in that era, that wasn't particularly uncommon. A lot of limited edition books would be cloth-bound hardcovers, and they would include, instead of a dust jacket, a glassine around them. A lot of Faulkner's limited edition books from the 50s and 60s and all that are pretty much exactly the same. Now, the glassines are incredibly fragile. And if you look at the copy that I have, there's chips all around it, there's some rips and tears in it, but generally this is actually an incredibly good condition glassine wrapper. So most of the sellers that I've ever seen selling the book didn't even mention a glassine because, in full transparency, I don't know that any of them even know that it was supposed to include one. So immediately when I saw this copy, I pretty much had to buy it because I'd never seen one with it. And also to make it more interesting, because of the fact that it has been in this glassine, the spine hasn't faded, things aren't chipped on it, the condition of it, best condition I've ever seen of this book, and it's still not in perfect condition. As a matter of fact, I was able to negotiate a really good deal on it because the previous owner at some point in the last 70 years stamped their name in it twice. Once the ink was a little faded, and so they went and did it again, so there's a stamp in there. Generally, I would never purchase a book that had a stamp in it, but everything else about the book is pretty much incredible condition as far as these books go, so I was able to look past that. Now, in terms of the signed book plate, again, just a testament to the quality of the production, the book plates would sometimes be inserted, in my experience, on the inside of the board. Sometimes they would be on the front page of the book. Sometimes they were on the inverse of that. It's all over the place. There are even some copies that don't have a signed book plate in them at all. That could be a deliberate thing by the publisher. It's possible they released some copies without a book plate and some copies with. I really don't know. Or it could just be a production error. Based on the other qualities that I've seen, it's highly possible. So it's a very interesting, like I said, kind of mysterious book. I wouldn't recommend, if you're going to try to buy a copy, that you would get a copy without the dust jacket, or excuse me, without the book plate, because that's really the most desirable aspect of this book, really, at all. Those copies can be had pretty cheaply, probably $50 to $100, depending on condition, and of course condition is going to be terrible. The entry-level purchases of the book are probably going to be closer to the $500 range, and again, bear in mind you're probably going to be dealing with loose hinges, faded spine, chipping, things like that, and without the glassine. I've seen 2 copies that were for sale for about $2,000 that were in good condition, but again, faded spine, chipped spine, no glassine, but otherwise were in good condition. So again, I think the reason why I was so intrigued by this book and why I had to get a copy of it, even though it's not necessarily an incredible copy, is I did want to get a signed Du Bois copy of this book because it's such a great book. And also, I was just frankly intrigued by sort of the mystery of this book. It's a very strange book, and the fact that I could get a copy of it that was different really from any other copy that I've ever seen, I mean, that's what every book collector really dreams about getting. So again, this is going to be probably a short video. I'm not really paying attention to how much time is passed on it. I'm just telling you the limited bit of information that I know about it. And hopefully you guys know more. So if you do, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. So comment below, like, subscribe, you know, all that jazz. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate it. I'm not going to promise when I'm doing another video, because every time I do that, it ends up taking months anyway. So again, thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate it.